guys? Welcome to my first ever podcast show. I'm here with Jay Robinson, but on Instagram, you call yourself Life of Trends.
Yes,
So,
sir.
Jay, I've seen you do your stuff on Instagram, blowing up. You got a lot of followers out of nowhere. So, I'm sure my audience would like to know who exactly you are. So, yeah, just give me a little brief background into who you are. Like, who's Jay Robinson?
Yeah,
Where you from? Background. Give me a little insight.
yeah. Well, first and foremost, bro, I appreciate you having me on, man. This is also a first for me as well, so it's an honor, and I'm glad that we can connect and make this happen. So hopefully, this is a good episode. We don't have to scratch it, but no, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate everything you're doing. This is dope. But yeah, man, a little bit about me. So originally born in Florida, Miami to be exact. Lived there for about 8 years. And I'm one of seven, so I'm third oldest, one of seven. I'm actually the oldest male in my family now. But yeah, I lived in Miami, moved to Missouri for like 2 years, middle of nowhere, Missouri, and then from Missouri, I moved to North Carolina in 2006. So I've been out here ever since then. And yeah, like coming from a big family it had its pros and its cons, but definitely more pros than cons. And I think that's why I'm such a like extrovert and a people person now, just because I'm used to being in environments with a lot of people. And then also on top of that, like all of my cousins, we all grew up like siblings. My grandma lived 3 houses down from us, and her house was the life of the block. Like everybody on that block was at my grandma's house. Everything that was going on our street was happening at my grandma's house. Like that was the center of attention. And we would have kids from all over different streets, different parts of town coming to our street. So it was never a dull moment. It was never a dull moment. Having lots of cousins, extended cousins, friends of cousins, lots of parties. And my grandma had a swimming pool in her backyard. So it was just like, bro, that was like our little slice of heaven, growing up. But all that to say, like my cousins and we all grew up like siblings. Like we all grew up like brothers and sisters. And I guess in a lot of ways we thought we were brothers and sisters until we got older and learned that we were actually cousins. Cause it's just like that's how close we were growing up and close in proximity we were to each other. So definitely had a really fun childhood, which I think has a lot to do with just like why I'm such a people person, why I'm so outgoing and such an extrovert. But yeah, we moved to North Carolina in 2006. And we actually moved out here. My dad used to be a pastor. He used to be involved in ministry and stuff growing up. My grandmother, she was actually my Sunday school teacher. And it's crazy because still to this day, she is still on the worship team at her church. My grandmother is 85 years old, like still
Wow.
pumping, still moving, still going. She is definitely the pillar of our family spiritually. And if it wasn't for her, my dad wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here. And so I really thank God for my grandmother, and she's a huge part of the rich heritage that I come from. So that's truly a blessing. Um, but yeah, she was holding it down for us, man. But we
Wow.
moved in 2006. My dad actually was moving the family out here to be a part of kind of like a church. No, I wouldn't say a church plant, but there was a church connection that he made with a pastor, I think in Florida actually. And he was feeling like God was telling him to come to North Carolina and visit. So him and my mom came and visited years before we moved out here. They felt like God was telling him to pack the family up and move out here. So we literally drove across a couple state lines to get here. And we've been here ever since. I've been planted actually at the same church that we originally came to when we first moved out here. And they're really like family. You're talking about 20 plus years now. So that's been a huge blessing and a huge part of my development and just my personal growth and story. If it wasn't for my church family, I absolutely wouldn't be where I'm at today. I wouldn't be the man that I am today. So huge shout out to my church family as well. But yeah, man, that's kind of just a little quick backdrop of where I come from and how I ended up where I'm at.
Wow. Incredible. Big family. A lot of people that are listening could probably resonate with that. Well, there was one part that you said that your dad was a pastor. So growing up, how was that experience? What did you learn? What did he teach you? What kind of stuff did you get out of that?
It's funny because when I was younger, and I didn't have any knowledge of this until I got older and people told me, but apparently when I was younger, people used to call me Shouting John, right? John is actually my real name. I go by Jay. All my friends call me Jay. my family calls me John, right? Now, my dad is a John. My grandfather was a John. And my younger brother is Jonathan. So you could probably understand why I go by Jay. It's just too many Johns, right? Too much confusion. But I'm a third. So I'm John the third, actually, but I go by Jay. But anyways, people, when I was younger, when I was a little kid, people used to call me Shouting John because I guess like during church, I would start shouting. And so it was just like I grew up in that environment. I grew up in that culture of always being around church and church things. Like my dad was a pastor, my grandma was our Sunday school teacher, worship leader. My dad's pastor was basically like godparents to me. And then like all of his kids were like more brothers. So it was just like I just grew up immersed in it, like growing up going to convocations when I was super young, which if you don't know what a convocation is, that's basically where like all these different networks of churches come together for this huge weekend conference. And all I remember as a kid was getting to stay in nice hotels and play with all the other little kids that came, you know, during that convocation weekend. But it's like I grew up in that environment. And then I also one of my like earliest memories of growing up is like how my house was always open to strangers. There were always different people coming to eat dinner with us after church Sunday. Like my parents, they would do like some marriage counseling to younger couples and stuff like that as well. And so our house was literally always open. It was always full of strangers, like literally Spanish people, Haitian people, Puerto Rican people, like all types of people. And so I never grew up just experiencing one culture, experiencing one race. Like it was I've always grown up in a multicultural environment. And I think that's also just kind of shaped the person who I am today. But like my earliest memories of my dad preaching, and to be honest, I really don't even remember too much my dad preaching. I more so remember him playing piano because my dad taught himself how to play piano by ear. All of my family is musically talented and gifted, by the way, which we'll get into this because that kind of leads into my story as a music producer and stuff. But everybody plays an instrument, everybody sings, like everybody's musically talented in my family. It's kind of crazy. But so we grew up like playing worship together, like that's just how our family was growing up. But I don't really remember so much my dad preaching as much as I do like him playing the piano and leading worship. I have very distinct memories of that because he had some signature moves on the keyboard that we used to crack jokes about. And like he'd do this one thing, he'd be playing really hard, sweating really hard. Somebody would come over, like, you know, they patting the sweat off his face. And then he'll do this slide on the piano and he'll hop off the piano and start shouting, and then he'll slide back on the piano. Like he was active, bro. he was active, man. So I definitely remember that. But yeah, man, I just had like a really like rich childhood, you know.
So obviously you said that your family was just musically talented. So we have to get into that. So obviously you're seeing your dad play on the piano like a madman, and he's gifted, he's talented. So you must have got a bit of that talent as well, as I'm assuming. So if you want to speak on that.
You know what's funny, bro? My dad, I wanted to play drums. So my older brother, he was talented on everything he put his hands to. My brother played drums. My brother played saxophone. My brother played piano. He sang. I'm sure he knew how to dance. He probably played some other instruments that I didn't even know. My older sister, she played violin. She sung. When it came to me, though, I wanted to play drums. That's all I wanted to do. Now, my dad, on the other hand, he was trying to get me to learn piano. And sent from literally from the age of 10 to what, 17, I've had like 5 different piano instructors in my life. And every single time I had instructors or I had to go to piano class or whatever, I never would take it serious. I literally dreaded going to piano class. I hated learning about music theory. I hated learning about piano. It was just stupid to me. I was like, bro, I don't want to learn this. Like, I just want to play drums. But my dad kept trying to teach me how to play piano. And I just resisted it every single time. I resisted it. Like, I never took it serious, never played for real. And literally years later, like after I stopped, well, it had to be younger than 17, because like I started producing music when I was about like 14 or 15. And once I started producing music, I was like, dang, bro, I should have learned how to play piano, because this would have helped me so much in my music production if I knew how to play piano, if I knew how to read, you know, music and scales and all that stuff like that. And so even though he was trying to force the piano on me, I rejected it. But then I ended up needing it when I finally got into music production, because I was like, bro, I could have known music theory. Like, And I could have been super good on piano by now. That would have bled into other instruments like guitar, which is another instrument that I really want to know how to play now. So it's like the older I got, like the more I regretted not actually pursuing piano, because that's like the one instrument where it's like, bro, like I don't care what age you are, if you have the ability to just go into any room where there's a piano and sit down and play, like that is a gift. And like you will naturally draw people. Like it doesn't matter where you're from. Like if you have the skill set to play the piano well and beautifully, like you will attract so many people. And it's like, dang, bro, I should have took it seriously. But that's something that I'm kind of like wanting to learn now on the back end. And yeah, that's like one of my biggest musical regrets, I guess.
So would you say you are musically gifted? Do you feel like this is a talent from God?
Like as far as, I mean, the drums, that was like, I was looking up to my older brother. He played drums. I had my first drum set when I was like 6 or 7. I vividly remember that because as soon as I got that kit, we went over to my grandma's house and everybody, like the whole family was around. And they're like, play us a song, play us a song. So I just remember like, you know, beating around on my drum and stuff. But then when I got older, I started playing on like some youth worship teams, and I had a little bit of like mentorship and drumming and stuff like that. And then when I moved to North Carolina, I started playing drums for our youth group, like our youth worship team and stuff like that, for chapels at school, different things like that. So I've been playing drums for a long time. And I would say, I mean, yeah, I would consider it like a talent, a skill set. Now, if for the amount of years that I've been playing drums, though, I should be way further along than where I'm at. So a lot of that has to do with just like the type of music that I played growing up. Like I didn't grow up in Black church. I didn't grow up in like a Baptist church. I didn't grow up like in a church where we did a whole lot of gospel music. Like I said, I grew up in a multicultural, multi-generational environment my entire life. So there was never just this one expression of worship or one expression of music. It was always a mix. So I think that kind of stunted my growth a lot, and just like not like being able, because you know there's like there's a certain type of music, certain type of genre, certain type of worship sound that you're exposed to, you know, in that type of church environment or whatever. So I think that kind of limited my skill set as far as drums. Now I still consider it a gift. Music like song and singing and stuff like that, definitely a gift from God. Like I said, everybody in my family sings. But I think I kind of like I think I kind of like, you know, close myself off in a corner, just focusing on drums and like not trying to embrace other things. The drums definitely did play a part in me producing music later on later on down the road. Just being able to like hear different sounds and rhythms and drum patterns and stuff like that in my head. But the piano, that would have been icing on the top. But yeah.
Amazing. So you had this desire to make beats and start producing. Where did that take you? Is that what you wanted to be? So when you were younger, what did you want to be? What were you aspiring to be? Let's say when you were 15, 16, and people are saying, hey, I want to be a basketball player, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be an engineer. What did you want to be growing up?
When I was younger, I wanted to go to school to be an engineer. I wanted to go to school and be an architectural engineer, because I had this class in high school. There was some type of like uh I don't even really know exactly what it was called. But there was some kind of program that one of our local colleges out here was doing. I think it was NC State. They had some type of contest or something like that. And the contest was called like Future City, something like that. And so basically it was like all of these different high school classes, they had to build a model, a 3D model of a city. And there were certain like things that the city had to, certain requirements the city had to meet in order to like qualify, you know, to win this competition. And so you had to have like some form of like water recirculation, or like clean water, clean energy, like all these different things, right? And so my school participated in it, and I had so much fun doing that project, because I think this was like a couple of months. Like it might have been like maybe one whole school year that we had to work on this or something like that. But we were competing, and the school I was going to was at my church. So this is a very small, like private church school. My graduating class was 5 people, including myself. So like not a huge school at all. But we're competing against like public schools, like huge schools, you know, like 50, hundreds of students, big budgets, right? So here's this little like private church school, you know what I'm saying, that was formerly just like a homeschool type of thing. And we compete in this competition where we have to build out this 3D model of a city. I had so much fun doing that. I was like, bro, I want to go to school for this. Like, I want to actually build structures. And like my thing was I wanted to build a robot. I had like the guy who was doing our class, he was an engineer. And so I used to always ask him, because we go to the same church and stuff. I used to always ask him, like, bro, can you help me build a robot? And he's like, bro, like, where is this even coming from? Like, I don't know where that came from, but it was like I always wanted to build a robot when I was a kid. And so I would have conversations with him, and he was like, oh, well, you should go to school for engineering. So I was like, all right, cool. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go to school to be an engineer. And then as I got older and I realized like how much school that is and how much math is involved, I was like, bro, this this ain't it for me, bro. Like, that's way too much school, way too much math. It's too nerdy, like, you know. So I kind of gave up my dreams of being an architectural engineer. And like once I kind of got bit by the music bug, like that was really it for me. Like once I got introduced into like how to produce music, that was all I wanted to do.
So when you got bit by the music bug and you started producing music, where did that take you? Did you start meeting artists, rappers? Like, where did that take you? Who was the first type of client that you started working with? And from there, did you believe that, yes, I'm going to be a music producer?
So this is funny, like the whole story of how I even got introduced to this. So there was a lady at my church, and actually when we moved to North Carolina, this lady moved out of her house and literally like let my family live in her house for like a year or 2 years when we first moved out here. So like she was a huge blessing to our family. So she was like kind of like a spiritual mom in a sense, you know what I'm saying? But she used to take care of like a lot of foster children and stuff like that. And sometimes like she would pick us up on the weekends and just kind of like take us with her as she's like doing her rounds, going to meet with different clients and different things like that. So we were at this one client's house one day and we were kind of just hanging out, like chilling in the living room. And there was an older guy that was in the living room on his computer. And I vividly remember like being a kid, I had to be like 10, maybe 11 max, but I'm looking at this guy on his computer and he's just like moving all these blocks and squares and he's just doing all these things. But then like I'm hearing music, like I'm hearing a beat, and I didn't know what it was at the time, but I was just fascinated. So I'm just over there in the living room, I'm watching this guy, I'm like, wow, this looks so interesting. So then I just go over there and I'm just sitting on the floor and I'm just watching him make a beat, but I didn't know that's what it was in the moment, but I was just so captivated by it. So he's making this beat, he's cooking up, and I'm like, wow, that's so interesting. So then it had to be like maybe 2 or 3 years after that, I started seeing these videos pop up on YouTube of this music producer named Lex Luger. And so Lex Luger was like one of the guys who was responsible for like the early Gucci Man music, early like Waka Flocka, Southside, like that early Atlanta, like old school trap sound. Like Lex Luger was one of those pioneers in trap music, right? So I start seeing this guy popping up on my YouTube and I'm watching his cook up sessions. Like he's there on his little laptop and he's cooking up, he's making these beats, and I just fell in love. I was like, oh, this is what that guy was doing who I was watching like a couple years ago, and I was so like captivated and mesmerized about it. I was like, this is what he was doing, because I recognized the software. I think, matter of fact, I think he was using FL Studio 8, which is like a dinosaur. I think they're on like FL 25 or something like that now. So super, super long time ago, but I remembered the software. So I'm watching this dude cook up and I'm literally like, bro, this is what I want to do. Like, this is it. It just spoke to me. Like, I don't know what it was, but it just spoke to me. Like, I've always been like a real, I guess I've always been like really into music and sounds and like beats and stuff like that. And once I finally realized like, oh, like I can actually make this, it was over with. It was over with for me. And so then not too long after that, there was a guy that was a part of my church. He actually moved to North Carolina from South Carolina, but he used to be a rapper. And so he used to rap a lot and he used to make his own music. Come to find out, he used the same exact software. And he was kind of like a big bro, like big spiritual bro to me. And so like I would go hang out with his sons who are a little bit younger than me. And I would like spend the whole weekend at his house. And then I would go into his studio and he had the core keyboard, like he had the computer, he had the same exact software. And we would just go in there and I would listen to him freestyle because I just liked hearing him rap. And then he started telling me like, yo, like I make my beats and I burn my beats on these CDs. Like I could teach you how to do it. So I'm like, bro, yes, like I've been wanting to learn this. So he starts putting me on game, like showing me the basics, how to use the software. And like after that first time, bro, it was over. I was like, this is what I want to do in my life. Like I don't want to do anything else. Music is it. I just want to make music for the rest of my life. That's all I want to do. Like, I just fell in love with it, bro.
Wow. 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 Wow.
Yeah.
So, you know, when people come on your Instagram or TikTok, you're talking about the Bible. You're talking about biblical principles. So, you know, that's the opposite from this guy that's, making beats.
Yeah.
He's making Atlanta trap beats.
Yeah.
So, what is the transition? So, you said you found that spark when you saw how to becoming this guy that we see on Instagram. What happened between the music production and this?
Yeah. So once I started producing music, and I instantly started putting my music out online because I was just so excited about what I was creating. I just wanted to share with people. I just wanted people to hear my music. And don't get me wrong, like when I first started out, like that first year was rough for sure. Like I was burning CDs, and I would go to church and I'd be like, yo, like let's hop in your car and let's listen to this beat that I cooked up. Like, I put like 5 or 6 beats on a CD or whatever. And so like we're in my friend's car and we're like listening to my beats. And like that's when I didn't know anything about mixing and mastering. Like my 808s were all distorted, like it sounded terrible in the car. And but I'm just so hyped because I'm like, yo, like I made this, you know what I'm saying? And my guy that put me on, he's like hyping me up too. He's like, man, this is fire, this is hard, like keep going. And it was so funny because like a year or two later, I went back and I listened to like all of my early stuff. I was like, bro, this was trash. I was like, why didn't anybody tell me this was trash, bro? Like I was actually showing people this. So it was funny, but like I literally locked in on the music, bro. Like you talking about over 10,000 hours of, perfecting my craft and my sound and like really locking in. But yeah, so I was putting my music out online because I just wanted people to hear my music. And so I was trying to find all these different websites to just put my music out so I could share links with people. Started with BandLab, which I don't even think or Bandcamp. Bandcamp is a super old website. I don't even think that's around anymore. And then it went from Bandcamp to SoundCloud. Now, SoundCloud was the very first platform that I actually started like building a fan base and like an audience. Like I actually had people listening to my music, and Facebook as well. So I had a Facebook profile. I was connecting with all of my fans and listeners from SoundCloud on Facebook. And then I ended up like just networking with all of those people and like building a little following. I think like at the time I had like 2,000 followers, which back then, like that's a lot. Like you talking about somebody who didn't have any like major songs, like any record deals, like didn't have any connections in the industry, just literally putting my music out online and networking with people in the comment section. So I was able to build up, and I had good music too. So it was just like I was able to build up this like very active and loyal following like very fast. And it got to the point where like I started hosting like these beat battles and these beat challenges and stuff on SoundCloud. So like I would like reach out to a couple of my producer friends and be like, yo, like I'm doing this beat battle, like send me your beats and then I'm gonna pair you up. I'm gonna have judges, all this type of stuff like that, right? And so I was orchestrating all of that through Facebook and SoundCloud. But basically what ended up happening is like 2 years in, I ended up getting this phone call from this guy. He was like, yo, he's like, what's up, man? My name is Lenny Santiago. He was like, I'm a A&R at Def Jam. And he was like, I've been following you for a little while, man. He's like, your music is dope. He was like, I want to fly you out to New York. He was like, we're doing a producer showcase. And, at the end of the showcase, we're looking to sign some producers and like, you got some dope music. And so I'm on the other end of this phone, like geeking out, bro. I'm like, there's no way Def Jam, somebody from Def Jam just called. He found me on SoundCloud. And so I'm instantly thinking it's a scam. I was like, nah, I gotta go look this guy up. So I go and like type his name in Google at the time, and I'm like looking this guy up. I'm trying to see if the number is like legit. I'm like, yo, this is legit. Like this is the actual guy. So I'm hyped, bro, because I'm like, bro, I'm out of there. Like I made it. Like I'm about to get signed to Def Jam, bro. I was like 16 or 17 at the time. So I'm super hyped. I go and tell my parents, I'm like, yo, y'all, like it's over. Like I'm out of there, Def Jam wants to sign me. And so I'm like, sharing everything with them. And they're just like, yeah, that's not about to happen. I was like, absolutely not. So they shot it down instantly off rip. And so I'm like, dang, I'm deflated. I'm like, bro, like, I thought y'all was going to support me. Like, I thought y'all would be happy for me. Cause my dad, he wanted me to go to school to be a physician's assistant. He was like, you should go to school and go into the medical field. I'm like, bro, I don't want to go to school. Like, I already said that I'm not going to school to be an architectural engineer. Like, I don't want to do college. I want to produce music. That's all I want to do. He was like, you should go be a physician's assistant. I'm like, man, I don't want to do that. He was like, well, they make good money. They make like 80K a year. I'm like, but I don't want to do that. So they were trying to get me to go to college. I just wanted to do music. When I brought this opportunity to them, they were like, yeah, we ain't doing that. So it was it was tough because it's like I'm living under their roof, right? I'm young. I'm not even 18 yet. And so it's like I'm not gonna go against them and do it out of like rebellion, because it's like I would want their blessing on it. You know what I'm saying? And I had enough love and respect for my parents at the time that I was like, all right, like they clearly don't want me to do this, so I'm not gonna try and like go against the grain and do it. So I'm gonna just have to say no to this opportunity. So it was super hard. And like I I didn't go through with the opportunity reluctantly. In my heart, I wanted to, but I was like, you know what? I can't do this. Like, I'm not gonna have their blessing. I'm not gonna do it. So I kind of just walked away from it. And then what ended up happening was, over like a period of, I'd say, almost 7 years, there was this wrestle with me and God where it was like, I want to do music. I want to produce music. I want to use this gift, this talent that you've given me. And I just want to do this my whole life. Like, this is what I want to do. And then I have my dad and my mom in my ear, like, hey, this isn't a real job. You need to go to school and get a degree so you can get a real job. And I'm like, y'all just don't trust in me. Y'all just don't believe in me. I'm going to prove y'all wrong, basically. So that was kind of like the root of my ambition. It's like, all right, I'm going to do this and I'm going to prove my parents wrong because they don't believe in me, right? And I knew I had good music. I'm like, bro, I'm networking with artists. Like, I'm getting really good plays and engagement on my stuff on SoundCloud. Def Jam just reached out to me. So clearly my music is getting into the right places. So it's just like, I just got to make it into the industry. Like, once I can get into the industry, then I can prove them wrong, right? So I would start pursuing different opportunities, networking, meeting people, meeting artists. And then God would basically be like, okay, put the music down, like step away from it, like put it down. And so I'd be like, okay, like, I don't really know why you asked me to do this, but I wanted to be obedient to God. So it was just like, all right, cool. Like, I'll stop producing music. I'll just kind of walk away from it, leave it alone. So
How did you know? How did you know that that was the case?
because it
Was
was
this a
like,
direct voice or was this a feeling?
yeah, it was like an overwhelming feeling. It was just like I had no peace about what I was doing, and I just kept feeling like this tugging and this small voice, like, you need to step away from this. Like, you need to. It's like this internal voice. You know what I'm saying? And it was like I couldn't go against it. And so I would listen. I would put the music down. I would stop producing. I would walk away from it for a season, right? A year and a half, maybe 2 years at the max. And then I felt like doors would start opening again. Opportunities would start coming back around. I'm like, okay, God, like, I feel like you're opening up the door for me to go through this again. So then I start pursuing it again, start chasing these opportunities, networking, meeting people, like getting closer and closer to the industry. And then God would come back and be like, put it down, walk away from it. So like this went on, like I said, for a period of 7 years, like back and forth, back and forth. And then finally it got to a point where I was like, all right, bro, like, I'm done. Like, because I feel like you're teasing me at this point. You're not going to let me pursue this passion that you've given. You gave me this passion. You gave me this desire for music. You gave me this skill. You won't even let me use it. You won't even let me like pursue it. And I feel like you're teasing me. So I'm just not going to play this game with you. I'm done. Like, I'm over the music. I'm done with it. And so that had to be like the beginning of 2019. I was literally like, bro, I'm about to sell all of my equipment. I'm about to get rid of everything. Like, I'm deleting everything. I'm done. Like, I'm about to wash my hands clean of this. I'm over it. Right. So I kind of stopped for a little while. I started this new job around that time, and I was in this warehouse. Absolutely hated this job. I think that was probably the worst job I have ever had in my life. I was making peanuts. Like, I don't even remember how much the hourly wage was, but it was peanuts. Like, it was literally like slave labor, assembly line work. It was terrible. But the only benefit of that job was I got to have headphones in for like 7 to 9 hours a day. So I would literally just listen to podcasts and like listen to YouTube podcasts stuff all day, every day. So I end up coming across this podcast called Producer Grind. Now, I knew of the name because they had a website where I would go and buy my sounds, like for my music, my beats and stuff like that. I would go and buy their sound kits and loops and stuff. I never knew that they had a podcast, though. I had been buying stuff off their website for years at this point. Never knew they had a podcast. So I stumbled across one of their podcast interviews, and the guy that was in the interview, he was like a big industry producer, like big name, big guy, right? He's sharing his whole life story, like how he came up and broke into the music industry and like all the things he wish he knew sooner, things that he wish he didn't do, things he wish he did do, and like basically giving free game. This episode was like 2 hours long. So then I go to their page, and then I saw that they had 200 episodes. I was like, bro, where have I been? Like, these people have 200 episodes of free game, and I haven't heard any of these podcasts before. So, bro, I literally binge watched, like, over the next like month and a half to 2 months, I binge watched every single one of those episodes. Listen to every single one of them. Like, bro, when I tell you I went through like a 10-year learning curve, it was like I went through the ultimate producer course, the ultimate producer program.